Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. I wasn't able to make a lot of videos in the recent past because I was completely neck deep in terms of my work commitments. As most of you know, I work for a stellar company called General Electric, and specifically, I am working with a business which is associated with a very noble cause of reducing the carbon footprint across the globe. So I was very busy in my work and I had to deal with multiple assignments, as a result of which I was not able to make any videos and pursue my passion and also serve you better through my content and my videos. Coming to this video, now I was thinking of a particular topic which is seldom talked about in intellectual circles. Today's video we are going to talk about the three-letter word called joy. Joy. Now, joy is something which is not heavily talked about. A lot of people talk about happiness. But let me give you my honest, candid opinion. I truly believe happiness is a scam. Yes, you heard that right. I believe that happiness is a scam. Because understand what you are calling happiness is essentially what is giving you a temporary high for a momentary engagement. In other words, if you look at your own life, anything which provides you happiness, how lasting is it? Probably not much lasting. And the whole problem, the whole understanding of happiness is so skewed in modern era that most of us are chasing happiness in outside things. We plan to go to exotic locations for vacations in the idea that that particular scenery or that particular landscape would give us happiness. Now, I'm no way suggesting that going to such places is a bad thing. All I'm inviting you to consider is to think that you'll be happy once you chase that or once your desires are fulfilled. Is a crippled premise to begin with. Is a foolish premise to think about. Because let's understand, the rich are unhappy, the poor is unhappy. Now you will not find any strata of human society which is devoid of unhappiness. Some point of their life, they all become unhappy. There's no human being in this planet who can claim that he was happy 24/7 in his life, he was always full of bliss, right? Now this is the reason why joy is more important than happiness. And joy is an evolved state of happiness. Joy is an evolution of happiness. And joy is everlasting. Joy is an emotion. Joy is a feeling. Joy is an experience which doesn't depend on your outside circumstances. Joy is that state of being which is completely independent of what's happening in your life, what's happening in your current reality. Hence, it's more intelligent, hence, it makes more logical sense to chase joy instead of happiness. Because let us cultivate higher taste, let us cultivate higher goals and dreams and ambitions. If you have to dream, why dream small? Why don't we dream big? Why don't we have a very clear understanding of what is more fulfilling, of what is more lasting? Because the whole world is so crazy in chasing happiness. We try to be happy. Now, most of us also try to be happy, we struggle to be happy. Now, the reason why all this is happening is because society had sort of sold this narrative that if you do this, you will become happy. If you achieve a certain title in your work profile, or if you are having a lot of degrees from prestigious institutions, you qualify to be happy. But the sad part of all this is, all these feelings of accomplishments are fleeting. Nothing is essentially permanent. I'm talking all this from a standpoint of personal experience. Because I also belong to the school of thought that if I have these things in my life, I would be eternally happy. But once I got that, I realized how foolishly I was thinking. Now, this kind of an inquisitive understanding, this kind of a realization, most of us have in different phases of life, but some of us don't want to accept it. They want to live in their own shell of understanding of happiness. However, if you are someone who really wants to be of importance, who really wants to understand the deep meaning behind this fallacy of happiness, this video is going to throw some light on these topics. Because understand, whatever you consider yourself as happy, always understand or always observe this, that it's always based on certain event, always based on certain situation. But isn't this a life of a slave? Because your life is not going to be the way you want 100% in any point of time. That is simply not possible. But what is possible is to access this dimension which is going to stay with you no matter what the outside circumstances. Now, when we talk about joy, right, what is joy? Joy is essentially not a fleeting feeling, it's a state of being. A state of being which stays with you irrespective of your circumstance. Now, the number one reason joy is considered the nature of consciousness, is considered an instrumental basic constituent of consciousness, is because everyone wants to experience it. No matter what your background is, no matter what your intellectual capabilities are, everyone wants to experience joy. But joy is sort of hiding in the mask of happiness. And we don't understand that our need is of joy, and we think that our need is of happiness, and we are chasing that. Now, coming to this particular mindset, coming to this particular thought process of how we can cultivate this feeling of joy, because this is what is going to make us feel good all the time, irrespective of any situation. Now, there are two pragmatic ways of doing that. And if you want to talk about spirituality, right? Spirituality is such a huge topic in itself, and there are various schools of thought. But if you deeply study spirituality and different schools of thought, they all boil down to two essential pillars. The two pillars, as per my understanding, they boil down to two words which start from the letter S. Now, the S, the two letters which start with S is service, and there's a word in Sanskrit called sadhana. Service and sadhana is what makes spirituality spiritual. Now, if there is any other definition of spirituality which is sort of not encompassing these two rudimentary dimensions, please throw that out in the dustbin. That is not spirituality. Anything which deals with sadhana and seva is spirituality. Now, what do you mean by sadhana? Sadhana is a huge topic in itself. Now, to put it very simply, in absolute simple terms, sadhana can be talked about as mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is a huge industry in itself. There's a lot of talk in corporate circles about the importance of mindfulness and how it benefits. But mindfulness is not only about being aware, completely engaged in your work. Mindfulness is way beyond. Mindfulness is to cultivate this sense, cultivate this urgent reminder, this important reminder that how important it is to be in the now versus oscillate between the past and future. Now, this is very easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. And that is why it is called sadhana. A sadhana is a practice. And when you are becoming perfect in your sadhana or in your practice of mindfulness, joy is a natural product. You don't have to do anything for it. It flows effortlessly from your consciousness. Now, most of us, when we start this sadhana and we do practices like meditation and things, right, we experience joy, we experience bliss. But is that enough to always have this experience of joy? Seva, a service, is an indispensable need to experience joy. Now, when I talk about seva, right, seva can only be called seva if it is selfless. Now, some of us, when we do seva, we like to publicize. I often belong to the school of thought that if you are doing seva as service from your right hand, it should be such that your left hand doesn't come to know. Because if you are doing seva with the intention of publicizing it, with the intention of showing to the world how great you are essentially doing a disservice to that. You are not doing seva with the intention of selfless service, but you are doing seva to the intention of inflating your ego. Understand this: if there is one enemy which can lead to complete destruction of every resource which you can think of, this is this three-letter word called ego. From a long point in my life, I used to believe that ego is in people who have achieved something in life, who are materially very rich and opulent. In recent past, my school of thought has a bit dismantled. I have seen people who haven't done anything substantial in terms of material progress. Spirituality is completely alien to their thought process and their dictionary of thoughts. And even in material aspect, these people haven't done anything substantial, but the amount of ego in their body language and demeanor makes you sometimes wonder whether these people had exotic properties in foreign locations. Now, the point I'm trying to drive here is, when you are trying to do seva as service, don't make a big thing out of it. Always understand, and always, we all need to work through this mindset, this consciousness that when you are given an opportunity to serve someone, please be grateful to that person. You are not doing a favor to that person. To the contrary, that person is doing a favor on you by giving you the opportunity to serve. It is only when we cultivate this mindset, it is only when we cultivate this mindset of selfless service do we feel joy. And it is said, for the people who want to progress in this path of everlasting joy, that your sadhana cannot get deeper if you are not engaging in any practices of seva. Now, seva can be in so many different ways. Seva can be as simple as helping your neighbor. Seva can be as simple as feeding stray animals. Always remember, this seva what I am talking about here, necessarily there should be a point of contact, there should be a person wherein you are not expecting anything from that person. Like feeding stray animals, that stray animals can't give you anything in return, right? But you're still feeding them because you feel it's a matter of service. Now, the reason I brought about this concept of having unconditionality, operating through this consciousness of selfless, unconditional mindset, is because when we have expectations out of doing something, out of performing any seva, then that seva becomes a labor. And whenever there's some kind of an expectation, that seva is essentially not a seva, it's an exchange. You give me something, I give you something. It is like a business transaction. And anything which is called or which comes under the umbrella of this word called unconditional, there is no exchange, there is no bookkeeping or bookmarking of the things the other person has done for you versus what you have done for them. This is why seva is considered very pristine and holds a very high regard in spirituality. This is the reason why every spiritual thought process in the world, even our religions, whether you talk about any religion in the world, they all heavily preach the importance of being of value. How much valuable are you to people around you? How much useful are you to people around you? This is absolutely important, because the number one reason human beings suffer is because they are so much occupied in their own thoughts. They are so self-obsessed. Self-obsession is the number one reason of suffering. And when you move out of your own confines, from your own selfish motives, and you contribute to making someone's life better in your own small ways. Now, this need not be something huge. This can be as simple as the activities I just mentioned out. But the power of these activities might seem very insignificant to you, but the joy you are going to experience, the state of being I am talking about, is something which can only be experienced and less talked about. Now, sadhana and this practice of mindfulness is also one way we can experience joy. And everything which you hear about the reading books or practicing different meditation techniques, all these are eventually taking you to that particular end game. The end game is essentially to cultivate the consciousness of the present moment. And when I talked about the power of seva, seva is such a powerful instrument, such a powerful medium. When you always have this consciousness of how I can contribute to the world, how I can make the world a better place through your own small means. Now, there is nothing called small or big here. It all depends on the consciousness. Now, suppose there are two people. Let's take an example. Now, suppose there's a multi-billionaire, and on the other side, you have someone who is struggling to meet his daily survival needs. One person earns, let's say, 1 lakh or 2 lakhs per month. And this 1 lakh or 2 lakh per month person, he decides to give a donation to a noble cause or to some charitable organization every month. Right? Let's say he decides to give 10,000 rupees from his daily income. And this other person who is struggling to survive, this person is only able to earn 10 rupees per day. Now, this person who is earning 10 rupees per day, one day in some point of his life, he decides that he has to help someone with 5 rupees. Now, who do you think is serving more? Depending on your current potential, depending on your current condition, the quantity is not really important here. The quality of your consciousness is the most important thing. Because don't think that the person, the universal intelligence, is a big fool. He can see everything about you. It is beautifully said that front of universe and cosmic intelligence, or God, or whatever name you like to call that superpower, we all are absolutely naked front of him. There is no hiding in front of him. He can see every thought in your head. He can see every intention behind your every action. Some of us, when we start in this journey of spirituality, we think we can fool around nature. Nature is way superior in terms of intelligence than any of us. The reason I am emphasizing so much about the quality of consciousness is because when we hear about giving back to nature and how I can contribute to the world, we suddenly are boosted with a lot of ego within us. But understand this very inherent and very subtle point that when your seva or when your service is coming from a place of ego, that is not essentially seva. You are just doing that to boost your ego. And that is not going to give you joy, and to the contrary, that might probably suffocate you because now you are expecting something out of your service. And when service is without expectations, that is the source of true joy. This is the reason it is foolish to pray in front of God and ask Him for your small desires. It's not the right practice to do that. I stopped asking from God a decade back because I realized this, that such a foolish endeavor I am trying to do here. The person there is way more intelligent than me, and he knows what is right for me. And I have such a limited intellect, and I am trying to squeeze my own desires, my own selfish desires front of him. That's an absolutely foolish way to function. The biggest prayer, the greatest prayer anyone can do front of the universe or the cosmic intelligence is to practice gratitude. The fact that you are able to watch this video, the fact that you have things which other people are just dreaming of. Now, this is not some toxic positivity. This is realism. There are many people who didn't get up this morning. But how many of us are grateful for that? How many of us are cognizant of our health, unless it becomes chaotic. And this is the reason in spirituality and the spiritual schools of thought, it is a lot of importance is given to taking care of the body. And it is said that body is the temple of the soul. And to keep your body fit is a part of our dharma. Because if you are not healthy from within, if your body is not healthy, you cannot do any sadhana, you cannot do any seva, you cannot be of value and service to the people around you. How can an unhealthy person help anyone? He himself is a liability to the people around him. Hence, it's not only important to be healthy for yourself, but it also is absolutely instrumental in health and indispensable to be healthy for those around you. Hope my today's video gave some insights as to how one can find true joy and what is the quality of consciousness one needs to have when we are doing any kind of service or any kind of philanthropy. And if you are someone who likes to post the acts of service you did in social media, an humble request is to stop doing that. One of my favorite actors in Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan, he is engaged in a lot of philanthropic activities, but he always says that, but I don't like to talk about the things I'm doing. Because this understanding, this concept of service, it's best hidden. But the video's focus, my intention behind making this video was to bring about some kind of clarity in all of us that what we are chasing, this endless rat race, this endless chase for happiness, is an absolute foolish thing which we are doing. We are chasing the whole world for happiness, but that happiness is essentially coming from within. Once we realize this and unravel the different mysteries of our own consciousness, joy is a natural product. Joy is talked about as the rising sun, and the situations of our life are like those clouds. These clouds are not able to block the sunshine for long. They are only there for some amount of time. And it's our responsibility to cultivate this awareness that joy is essentially a byproduct of my own consciousness. And I just need to do a few things with the right understanding, and joy will result automatically. Thank you so much for your time on my video. If you really enjoyed the video, don't forget to share your joy with a couple of your friends, because everyone wants to experience joy, so that they can also experience joy and understand what true joy is. And if you really enjoy the genre of content I'm sharing in my channel, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you so much, and I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.